The most popular sawmill in the world costs $0. It sounds crazy, but millions of Americans are being convinced by these offers every day. We are living in an era where tools are no longer heirlooms, but disposable items. But don't be quick to label everything from China as trash. The truth is much more complicated than you think. Why do giants like Milwaukee or DeWalt also quietly set up factories here? And why do some unknown tools perform astonishingly well in real-world tests? Today we will unveil the true face of this industry, from strange brands like Jar Owl Avid Power or High Spec to secret production lines. And after this video, the way you look at your toolbox will change forever. To understand why your garage is now filled with branded items whose names you can't even pronounce correctly, we need to turn back the clock to a completely different era. The 1950s saw the United States as an unrivaled manufacturing giant, partly due to the devastation of other industrial powers in Europe and Asia after World War II. Consider this figure at that time. America accounted for only about 6% of the population but produced nearly 50% of the world's total goods. That was a time when the Made in USA label was not just a source of pride, but also a steel commitment to an item that could be passed down to your grandchildren. But as a cruel law of economics, that absolute dominance could not last forever when domestic production costs began to skyrocket. American corporations, in their thirst for profit optimization, began to turn their gaze toward Asia, with China being the final destination. Initially, goods from here were looked down upon due to poor quality, but China learned extremely quickly. Today, this country produces about 30% of global goods with technical capabilities and scale that even the CEO of Apple must admit they go there not for cheap labor anymore, but for specialized skills that cannot be found anywhere else. However, there is a secret weapon that helps these cheap tools dominate the US market faster than anyone could imagine, and that is the de minimis rule. This is a loophole, or rather a magical door in US customs law. Initially, it was designed to simplify the procedure for travelers bringing souvenirs back home with a tax-free limit, but in 2016, this limit was raised to $800. What does this mean for you? It means that e-commerce giants like Temu or Shein can ship millions of small packages directly from factories in China to your doorstep without paying a single import tax customs fee or facing strict regulations. This is why you can buy a drill set at an absurdly low price compared to a similar item sold in traditional retail stores. But be careful, because this free lunch is about to end. An executive order has been signed to suspend the de minimis tax exemption threshold by the end of August 2025. This means that every shipment, regardless of its small value, will have to go through the official customs process and be subject to all kinds of taxes and fees. When these barriers are erected, the cost of cheap tools will surely skyrocket and chaos in the supply chain is inevitable. We are at a turning point. Either you take advantage of stocking up now, or you have to learn to become a wiser consumer so as not to be caught off guard when the flood of cheap prices recedes. So how do you distinguish between a real bargain and a pile of scrap masquerading as a tool? Before we delve into how to uncover the truth behind those $40 drills, if you find this information useful for your wallet, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Your support is the motivation for me to continue making in-depth analysis videos like this. Now let's move on to the most important part: the truth about the factories producing for both Milwaukee and the nameless brands you often see on Amazon. Now let's delve into the dark side of this maze of goods. To understand why a drill priced at $00 and another priced at $40 look identical on the outside, you need to grasp two core concepts that drive the entire manufacturing world in China: OEM and ODM. Let's start with OEM, short for original equipment manufacturer. Imagine Milwaukee or DeWalt having an extremely detailed design. They take it to a factory in Shenzhen and say, "Make it exactly like this for me." That factory is simply a hired hand. But the story starts to get interesting with the second concept, ODM, original design manufacturer. In this scenario, it is the Chinese factories that hold the initiative. They design and manufacture a line of saws or grinders themselves, then they present a menu to Western companies. We have this model ready. Do you want to paint it red to become Milwaukee, yellow to become DeWalt, or blue to become an anonymous brand on Amazon? And this is the point I want you to pay attention to. A truth that large corporations always try to cover up with flashy marketing campaigns. Many high-end tools you own are actually produced on the same assembly line by the same group of workers as the nameless items on Temu or AliExpress. When you hold two items that look identical in terms of molding button placement and even the plastic grooves, but their prices differ by 5 times, then 80% of that price difference does not lie in the quality of the copper core or the internal bearings. It lies in the advertising costs, the display costs at major supermarkets, and most importantly, it lies in the logo affixed to that plastic shell. I know this feeling is not pleasant at all. You feel betrayed by your long-standing loyalty to the brand. You spend hundreds of dollars believing you are buying American prestige, but in reality, you are paying for a massive marketing operation. The ODM factories in China have now evolved to the point where they no longer need engineers from the US to teach them. They hold the molds, they hold the technology, and when the big companies push the prices too low, these factories simply create their own brand. The quirky names we see at first and sell directly to you at the original price. However, is everything exactly the same? Not necessarily. The difference sometimes lies in things that the naked eye cannot see, such as quality control, QC standards, or warranty policies. But the question is that standard worth 5 times the amount you spend? Or are we being drawn into a psychological game that the corporations have already set up? The truth about these shared factories is just the tip of the iceberg. China is not only good at copying, they possess skills that the world must tip their hats to. So why did Tim Cook assert that China is no longer a place with cheap labor, and can a high-quality Chinese product really beat an American one in real-world tests? We will find the answer right after this. And if you're still watching up to this point, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. That's the best way for you not to miss the next stark truths I am about to reveal, while also helping our DIY community become more aware of commercial tricks. Now let's move on to fact number 2. Why we need to completely change our perspective on the term Chinese skills. At this point, you might wonder if they are just slapping logos on cheap ODM products. Why do major corporations continue to choose China instead of moving back to the US for better quality control? The answer lies in a harsh reality that Tim Cook, CEO of Apple, once candidly shared. He said that if you gathered all the tool engineers and highly skilled technicians in the US, they could only fill a small meeting room. But in China, that number could fill several stadiums. This may sound hard to accept, but the truth is that China has long ceased to be synonymous with cheap labor. They have become a massive hub of specialized skills. Let's recall an interesting detail from the classic movie Back to the Future. The character Doc Brown from 1955 exclaimed with disdain upon seeing a chip from the future. No wonder this is broken, it says made in Japan. But the teenage Marty of 1985 immediately replied, Doc, what are you talking about? The best things in the world all come from Japan. We are witnessing a repetition of history with China. They are transforming from a copycat to a leader in manufacturing technology. Let me show you through a practical example. Recently, I had the opportunity to experience a thickness planer from a brand with a rather strange name, Find Buy Tool. To be honest, the name sounds very silly and cheap. But when I disassembled the machine and tested it on the most stubborn oak planks, the result left me astonished. Its helical cutting head operates as smoothly as a hot knife through butter, with a level of refinement that rivals and even surpasses some models priced twice as much from long-established American brands. Why can an unknown company do that? Because in essence, they are a long-established OEM factory specializing in producing twist drill bits for major brands. They possess core technology, they understand the weaknesses of old designs, and when they decided to create their own products, they didn't have to bear the enormous branding costs. They focus all their resources on actual quality to compete. Therefore, instead of blindly stigmatizing the term made in China, we need to learn to acknowledge that China can produce the worst things in the world, but they are also fully capable of creating the best things in the world if we know how to look for them. The issue does not lie with the country of production, but with the standards of the buyer and your own wisdom in making choices. But even when the quality has improved, why is there still a fierce struggle in consumer mentality between choosing high-end and cheap products? And what is the secret behind professional craftsmen still quietly using Chinese products? Before we delve into the extremely interesting section on the psychology of buy to fail in the next part, take 2 seconds to hit the subscribe button if you feel these perspectives are helping you view the market more insightfully. Your support is the way for the YouTube algorithm to know that this is valuable content. Now let's explore the strategy of short-term gain for long-term growth that many savvy users are applying to outsmart the big companies in the next part. Have you ever stood in front of a shelf looking at a $300 drill from a big brand and an unknown $60 drill, then told yourself, I know the cheaper one will break, but why do I still want to buy it? Not yet. Don't worry, you are not alone, and you are not stupid either. In fact, this is an extremely shrewd economic strategy that the DIY community is quietly adopting, the buy-to-break strategy. Let's do a little math problem. Suppose you need to cut down a dead tree in the garden. Hiring a professional will cost you at least $500. A high-quality chainsaw from Milwaukee or Steel costs around $400, but you find a Chinese chainsaw on Amazon for only $50. You buy it, finish the job in an afternoon, and even if the machine breaks down right after the tree falls, you still have an extra $350 in your pocket compared to hiring a professional. For many people, that item is not a lifelong investment. It is a consumable expense to solve a specific problem. But why are we being pushed into this difficult situation? A large part of the reason comes from the big players in the tool industry. They have created a trap called the battery ecosystem. The big companies can sell the device body at a reasonable price, but they will bleed you dry with the batteries and accessories that come at exorbitant prices. There are times when buying 2 genuine batteries is even more expensive than buying a completely new device. This greed has driven the rise of a highly innovative underground market adapters. Nowadays, you can easily find adapters priced at a few dollars online, allowing you to fit high-capacity, inexpensive Chinese batteries into expensive Milwaukee or DeWalt tool bodies. Customers seem to be hacking the system back. They understand that while the big companies are busy protecting profits from proprietary batteries, users simply want to get the job done at the lowest cost. The feeling of regaining control from the big corporations is truly satisfying, isn't it? However, playing with cheap goods and battery hacks always comes with certain risks. You don't want your garage to catch fire just because of a low-quality battery or a subpar item. So how can we still take advantage of the wave of cheap Chinese goods without becoming victims of scams? Before I share the 3 golden rules for choosing Chinese goods without the fear of buying junk at the end, if you find that you have also had similar shopping strategies, please share your story in the comments section below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to uncover more interesting truths about this world of tools with me. And now for the most important part, the survival guide to always being the winner in today's maze of cheap goods. So we understand why the market is so chaotic right now, but as a craftsman or simply someone who enjoys making wooden items at home, you can't stay out of this game forever. To help you avoid wasting money in the maze of cheap goods, I have distilled 3 core survival rules. Consider this a map to safely navigate through the flood of Chinese tools. Rule number 1, be wary of meaningless names. Have you ever wondered why there are brands on Amazon with names like Jar Owl, Zonith, or Xylo NG? The truth is, Amazon's algorithms prioritize new and unique names. These companies often do not intend to build a long-term brand. They simply import a shipment from the factory, slap a random name on it, and sell it off. If a name sounds like it was created by a bot, there's a high chance that its customer service and quality will be just as soulless. Prioritize names that have started to gain a reputation in the community, or at least sound like they have been seriously invested in. Rule number 2, Never place absolute trust in reviews on e-commerce platforms. In the world of Temu or AliExpress, 5-star reviews can be bought with money or gifts. Instead, turn to the sanctuaries of Truth Reddit and YouTube channels specializing in teardown, that is, disassembling devices to inspect the internal components. The people there will tell you exactly whether that bearing is made of steel or plastic, whether that copper core has the right number of wire turns. Those are the data that cannot lie. Rule number 3, start with the lowest risk. If you plan to try your luck with Chinese tools, don't start with a table saw or a handheld cutter, things that can be dangerous if a technical error occurs. Start with simple hand tools like wrenches, screwdrivers, or measuring tapes. These are items that China has done very well with, priced at only a quarter of the American products. When you have trust in a specific supplier, then gradually upgrade to more complex electronic devices. I hope these 3 rules will serve as a filter to help you find real bargains amidst a sea of industrial waste. If you find these tips valuable, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and save this video for reference whenever you plan to click the buy button. Your support is the way for me to know that these shares are truly helping the community. Now let's reach the final part of this journey together. An unexpected conclusion about the future of the tool industry and the most important question you need to answer before opening your wallet. We have gone through a long journey together, from the shocking $0 ads on Temu to the secrets behind the trillion-dollar production lines in China. So in the end, what is the truth? The truth is, Chinese products themselves are not bad. It is simply a mirror reflecting exactly what the world is demanding. The real issue lies at the intersection of the insatiable greed of large corporations, those willing to sacrifice quality to maximize profits, and sometimes the lack of information among our own consumers in an overly complex commodity matrix. We don't need to boycott anything, but we need to wake up. Remember that every time you open your wallet, it is a vote for the future of the manufacturing industry. Choose quality over logos. Choose real value over flashy advertisements. But that's just my perspective. What about you? I really want to hear your first-hand stories. Have you ever been betrayed by a cheap Chinese item right in the heat of the moment? Or conversely, do you own an unknown item that you bought for a pittance but has stubbornly worked for the past 10 years without breaking down? Please leave a comment below. I believe that your real-life experiences will be the most valuable lessons for everyone watching this video. If this video has helped you save a few dollars or simply provided you with a new perspective, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and share it with your friends. Your support is the greatest source of energy for me to continue delving into the truths that no one wants to talk about. Before concluding, please note that all information and evaluations in this video are based on personal experience and independent research at the time of recording. I do not represent any of the brands mentioned. The use of non-genuine battery adapters or tools always carries the risk of fire or equipment damage, so please consider carefully and take responsibility for your decisions. Once again, thank you for staying with me until the very end. See you in the next videos.